Hey guys, what's up? Long time no see. I have a battle for you. This is with the deck that you've seen me play the most, and this is CMT, of course. But I'm playing it in the Dark Explorers format, which I think is something that could be fun for everyone. I just lead off with the Celebi here, and we see that my opponent leads off with the Piplup. I'm going first. I'm instantly thinking what am I going to be facing here, and it's pretty clear to me that it's going to be something involving a fighting Pokemon of some sort to deal with lightning Pokemon, and Empoleon, of course, because we're looking at a Piplup right now. And that being said, I have the Regigigas in hand, but knowing that all these Empoleon decks play a fighting card, whether it be Donphan, which, spoiler alert, it is in this case, or it be Terrakion, those are bad news bears for my bro Regigigas over there, so I'm going to hold on to him. And so we're just going to see me drop this. Think about dropping the Skyra, but I'm not, and just in case I don't want to give his Piplup free retreat if I'm not abusing Bridge turn 1. And he's just going to try and, I think it's some kind of peck attack, but he hits triple tails, which is sort of unfortunate, but at the same time it's a Celebi, what's it really matter? And at this point, I don't want to Juniper away all the good stuff in my hand, so I play the random receiver and I hit the Pont, which is pretty nice. So I decided to bench Gigas here just in case he gets the turn to Donphan, which is definitely a threat. And I'm also able to attach 2 energy to my Gigas here. I could have gone for the Mewtwo and then X-Balled for KO. In retrospect, probably should have. I don't really know what I was thinking there. I know that part of my brain was like, well, you could KO the Piplup with the catcher, and then if he Earthquakes you with Donphan, then after that you could Giga Hammer or Gaia Hammer or whatever for another knockout, and just kind of maybe even bench him out early. I still should have probably put the energy on the Mewtwo. The turn 1 KO would have been nice. I would have put a lot of pressure on him here, but we do see that he has the fighting energy dropped, and he should be able to take out my Celebi, or if he has the catcher, put some serious hurting on my my Regigigas, which would kind of force me to have to try and hit the DCE for Raging Hammer. But he's just going to go ahead and KO the Celebi, which probably works better for me. I'm definitely okay with that. And my top deck is Dual Ball, which is nice. I'm definitely going to play that, I hope. I'm going to capture the Piplup, and this is what I was talking about before. This was the game plan. So now I can get out this Piplup. I have knockout on Piplup, no problem. I don't even have to do the extra 20 damage and 20 to myself. And I'm actually going to Junk Arm the Dual Ball and the Mewtwo for a random receiver. And I'm just going to be trying to, shuffle through supporters. Going to take a few cards, but I believe I hit an N, which is, not bad. I haven't taken any prizes. It does, bring his card count down by 1. I don't really know what he has in hand. I accidentally discard those cards, unfortunately, so I just have to kind of put them back into the deck. So, anyways, off this N, I'm going to hit the DCE, which is nice. I'm also going to hit a Tornado CX, which is even better, like in this matchup. I play the Dual Ball here, and I hit double heads, which is fantastic. I'm thinking Celebi, and then I actually think about grabbing Smeargle, but for whatever reason choose not to. And I think part of me wants to go Virizion or Tornadus. I'm kind of torn on this one. I would have liked to see me go for Smeargle, but I go for another Tornadus, which, it's nice to get both of those guys out because they're really good in the matchup, as I said before. But Smeargle is just so good for consistency, especially, just in that late game with ends and stuff. I don't really know how many ends Empoleon, Donphan decks usually run, but I mean, I figure they should run a good amount. Empoleon doesn't really give about N. So I'm just going to knock out the Piplup and take a prize, and that promotes his Donphan. So here is definitely where things are going to get interesting. He's going to go for the Junk Arm, but then I believe he decides not to do it. Missing whatever cards. And I believe he's going to Earthquake me. He ends me first, which is actually kind of disappointing. I had a really nice hand. But, I hit actually arguably a better one. The 2 Eviolites are fantastic, especially with Tornadus EX against Donphan, you know, basically 20 damage to me off of an Earthquake, and you know, nothing to you, or you know, a ton to your bench, I mean. So what's going to happen here actually surprises me is that he does go for the Earthquake, which is kind of like calling a bluff. It's, you know, basically, do I have an energy? And benching the Pichu actually changes, you know, the context of that a little bit, because he knows even if I knock out his Donphan, he can just, you know, totally fill up a bench, and, you know, maybe trick me into filling one too. I put the Eviolite on the Gigas just knowing that he won't be able to have a Donphan next turn, so even if he does get out the Empoleon, it should be really hard for him to knock me out. He would need to do 80 damage or something like that. I then just, you know, kick a hammer the Donphan for KO. That's, you know, 170, plenty of damage. I also have the catcher in my hand, which is really nice for this Pichu in case, you know, he decides to take a nap on me. But he's going to drop the Smeargle free retreat into it, and he's going to portrait it, but I got handed nothing. So that's fantastic, you know. He's already retreated. He's basically wasted a turn, and he's given me a prize in the process. With that, I think he's just going to pass. You know, he's used his energy. I don't think he has a supporter. So what I'm just going to do is attach to the Tornadus, and you know, after that, I'm just, you know, kind of in cruise control. I could go for the catcher and knock out the Piplup, which would make it so that he couldn't evolve anything next turn, and that he'd just be dealing with straight up basics. But at the same time, you know, it's wasting resources when I don't necessarily need them. I don't need to go that aggro right now. I have the prize lead, I have board control, I have everything. So I just decided to knock out that Smeargle, and I stand by that play. I also want to keep cards in my hand in case I need a junk arm for a random receiver, and you know, I want to keep the scoop up maybe depending on what drops onto the field. It would be nice to pick up that Gigas and get out at Tornadus to start attacking. So I believe he's going to Playground here, which, you know, doesn't threaten me too much at this point. I'm not going to grab anything though. I have pretty much everything I need, and I'm just powering him up in the end if I do. He doesn't grab a full bench either though, which kind of surprises me, makes me think maybe he doesn't have one. But then again, those decks should be running, you know, huge counts of Pokemon, like basics and Smeargles, you know, your Piplups, your Phanpy, and I guess Pichu in this case. But anyways, he's going to stay asleep with this Pichu, another really good reason to keep the catcher in hand just in case this happens. I whiff on the Super Scoop Up, which is unfortunate, but you know, really they're a luxury, and you shouldn't really expect to, you shouldn't count on hitting them, it's just a luxury. So with that being said, I'm just going to attach to my Tornadus, have it ready for when I need it. I choose not to bench Rosian again to keep cards in my hand for the junk arm. And I'm just going to catch her up with Phanpy, and you know, I'm going to be able to take it out with a Raging Hammer for, you know, way more than KO. So now I've got a really healthy lead, and it's all about playing conservative at this point for me. The junk arm also could be nice for a catcher. I can't really one-shot the Donphans very easily after he takes out my Gigas. And I'm assuming, you know, that he has a pretty good shot of doing it. He actually has the Fighting and Donphan in hand, and you know, now he has the Earthquake. That also means though that he's 2 Earthquakes away from knocking out his own Pichu, which, you know, would be fantastic for me. Not really forcing me to have to do too much. I'm just going to promote Tornadus because nothing walls Donphan better than an Eviolated Tornadus EX. And I top deck the catcher, which is fantastic. Now I have the stuff for the junk arm for the first catcher, or for another catcher. So I can really just take these 2 prizes with these 2 catchers, assuming that even actually if I hit tails on the Power Blast and have to discard, I still have the grass in hand. So, you know, aside from an N, I pretty much have the game at this point. I do have to discard. A little unfortunate, but you know, with CMT, you know, you have good acceleration, and I've, you know, not played all that many energies, I guess. So there's a knockout. I believe he's going to try and go for the Playground at this point. Wait, no. Yeah, I think he's going to actually go for the Playground at this point, knowing that if he can't, you know, do anything with that, that I can probably just, you know, knock him out somehow. And, we'll see what happens there. I believe he flips tails, but I have the junk arm. So I'm going to just catch up the Pip up, and that'll be the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you rate, like, comment, subscribe, do your thing, and I will catch you guys later.